You wait on me? Oh. What's up? I'm Mutulu Kafele, and I moved to Houston from Austin in like 2010, and I left a really interesting life behind me to hopefully start a very extravagant life here, and I think I've done that or on my way to doing that. But so my story that I want to tell, and I think it's the only story that I could like have detail, and for some reason, I, looking back on it, I don't realize how conscious I was at the time. But things kind of fell apart, and I was just very conscious to make things happen. And this is the story I'm going to tell, is how I became the leader of the Austin, Texas Full Moon Cruise, which is a ride that was started in the 70s. A bike group had a ride every harvest moon, and it was related to their bike group or bike shop. Something happened on the ride. Someone was, I believe, fatally injured. And so they had the ride without associating it directly with the group, because they didn't want to have the ride anymore, but it became part of the culture asked for it. And so they just had these, every harvest moon they would show up at a certain point and they would ride out, and they would ride to all the moon towers in Austin, Texas. And Austin has these moon towers that are just big lanterns placed around the city to make the city a little safer, way back in the past when there were a lot of mysterious murders going on. Young ladies walking home. So they built these huge towers called the moon towers. Party under the moon tower is a popular phrase. Fast times at Richmond High. And the ride would go to all the moon towers, and that was the Harvest Moon ride. That ride happened to fall on Damien's birthday. Damien is a old school OG, bike messenger, pedicab, horse wrangler, all around badass, who was in a car accident and hurt his hip. But prior to that, the Harvest Moon fell on his birthday, and he had a ride where he pretty much led people blindly through the streets, and they just followed him. And his ride started at midnight, I believe, and the Harvest Moon doesn't start till 2:30. So he had his ride, and it ended at the Harvest Moon beginning point, which is the Lamar Pedestrian Bridge in Austin, Texas. That ride was so good, he decided to take that format and make it every full moon. And that became the Austin Full Moon Cruise, led by Damien. Like I said, a year or so after the birth of that ride, Damien was in a car accident. I believe he was pinned under a truck, riding home on the east side, hurt his hip, and was unable to ride his bicycle. But instead of taking that injury, and he was already an older cat around this time. He was probably in his late 30s. He was like I said, he was an OG then. He rode a hand cycle to Las Vegas, since he couldn't ride BMX anymore. And so he rode a hand cycle during his rehab to Las Vegas. And so while all that was going on, the ride wasn't being led, and it kind of became just a late night critical mass, and the true essence of how critical mass used to be, or is in every other place but Houston. That has no leader, and if you're not in the front and you don't have the loudest voice, then you don't decide where to go. So, but that's like opposite of the original nature of the Full Moon Cruise, which is to be led by someone blindly through the streets and just kind of accept whatever happens. And so people were getting spread out, and it was late night, and we were vulnerable, and we were on the east side, I believe, off Spring Valley Road, off the east side, Riverside, off Riverside, where it turns into Spring Branch, I believe, Spring Branch and Valley. And then we were hitting up Airport North towards what they called Future Park. People were getting spread out, and there was a flat I was help fixing, and we usually leave at the same time, but like in the essence of a critical mass, if one person takes off and someone follows them, then that mass has re-begun. So a couple people took off, even though they weren't actually part of the ride, and everybody else left, not wanting to be left behind. And so they ended up just following this race that these rabbits were having to see who could get to Future Park next, because someone said Future Park and they decided on it, and that being a good clip from the I forget the name of it, but it's the parking lot on the back way to Secret Beach, if you guys know where Secret Beach is in Austin. And so it's a good clip from that distance to Future Park, and it's up some really good inclines and some really good fucking long flowy straightaways as you come across Airport going towards the 35. And it's a really nice run for rabbits, and so they shot off and everybody followed them. And so people were getting left behind. I fixed the tire, helped boom get back on my bike, and just try to just dog it to the front, you just dog it to the front. And I come up off the right then the left, and we're heading towards the street between Airport. I think it's Valley. I believe it's called Valley. And this guy gets arrested for running a stop sign. 4 people ran it, but he was the only person by himself. Cops isolated him. He gets thrown in the dirt. His buddies are over there. Nobody knows who he is. Can watch his bike. Didn't want to leave his bike in the middle of the east side late night. And I was like, man, I found one of my friends and asked him just to kind of stick with him, because I knew he had the number. And I asked him politely, like, hey, would you mind? I'm going to go find this guy's friends. Shoot all the way to the front. And it takes me a while, and I'm just like passing people to the point where I can see the pack. They're stopped at a light. I want to say Dean Keaton, and there's a Whataburger right there. Martin Luther King in Airport, MLK, and then so they stop at a light, shoot past them, go all the way to the curves to Future Park. There's already people there. There's already music playing. There's already like beer cans on the parking lot. People have been there for a minute. And I'm a little bit pissed. I'm yelling like, yo, what the fuck's going on? There's some dude back there. I find his friend, give him the number, go contact. He shoots back. Boom. We all step up. I'm just like, and then some girl, oh man, I know her name. I'm friends with her on Facebook. And she actually was like, oh, it was my fault. She actually was like, hey, I'm sorry. I was the one who stretched them out. She just got her new bike, and she wanted to open up, And I was like, that's cool and everything. But for some reason at that point, everyone was like, well, fuck, you're talking all this shit. Why don't you lead the ride? And I was like, okay. So we started leaving. I rounded everybody off, let them know where I was going. Just pretty much kind of did what Damon did, and then asked them like, hey, you guys can do what you want, but if you want to stick with me, I got this route I did a couple days ago. It's pretty cool. I'll show it to you guys if you want to do it. People was like, fuck. Now they could just chill back and do whatever they want to without having to listen to who's going that way and decide. They're like, fuck it, let's do it. And so we shoot down, we're on 51st, I think that's where 51st comes around, over to, I forget the names of streets, but we end up on Koenig, which is 222, 2222, we end up Koenig, and we end up on there's some really nice construction. So I take them through the construction where you bottleneck, and it's downhill. There's that high school right there, and then there's the bowling alley, dart bowl, I believe it is, and you shoot down. There's a car lot, and you take that really cool turn, and then you're by like that street where the creek's in the middle, so it gets cold all of a sudden, and which is like a change because like where we were it was kind of hot. And so we swoop through the neighborhood, come right back around, climb up a hill, and then we're on Burnett, and then we end up at the HEB on Burnett in 2222, which is called Koenig. And everyone's like, fuck yeah, everyone's having fun. They're taking watermelons. Watermelons are left out from the produce, so everyone's eating watermelons, cutting them and making them into hats. And pretty much rubbing watermelon on their skin, getting all sticky, and doing crazy stuff. And so there is a little bit of a hubbub about, you know, why I get to lead the ride, who chose me. I had really good rapport in Austin Critical Mass for making really good decisions, keeping people safe, and making sure that the route had some chaos to it, but the chaos was manageable, and people still got through. And I had that reputation for doing that, and that was kind of why people were nonchalant when I chose to say what it is I had to say about taking the ride for that time being. So that happened, and I was just like, I'm feeling it. Like, I'm feeling myself. You can't tell me nothing. It's just kind of what I wanted, you know, and kind of fell in my lap. I just wanted something to happen that night because, like, I really liked that ride, and I was complaining about it, and someone was like, well, fuck it, if you're gonna complain, just, you know, do something about it. And that's kind of been my motto when it comes to, like, bike culture in general. Like, you're gonna complain about that, that's your task. And, you know, and that's what I tell people who aren't into the culture and who have problems with how Critical Mass and other bike organizations do their thing. Like, you know, if you have that angst about it, then that's your job. That angst is volunteered for you to represent that, and that's where you volunteer. Yada yada yada. I fulfilled the role that I complained about, and some dude called me out on it. And I was like, bet, we're gonna race from 2222, which is north of 51st, to 11th Street in the Capitol, which is pretty much 11th and Congress, and you swoop up this hill if you're coming from that side, if you're coming from the south. And everyone was like, bet. And it just became like a loud race, the Rabbit's Run, as I call it, the Rabbit's Run. And there's two ways you can go there. You can go down Lamar, so Burnett turns off, and then the closest main vein is Lamar, which shoots straight down. Now that's the fastest route, considering there's less lights, but it's the roundabout route. There's more miles, and there's an uphill finish. But considering the other route, once people shoot down that first hill, because there's a hill right when you turn off of it, so if you start on that ride, you're already moving that way real fast. Or you can kind of mosey on and then turn on the Guadalupe at 45th. And I knew that route because I lived off 44th in Guadalupe. And so I knew that shot. I knew every pothole. I knew every light. I knew being single speed, where I could get the most out of my climb and my pace. I knew, like I said, I knew the potholes. I knew the swoop. And, like, you know, I just knew it. So I took that route and risked it. And a lot of people took that route. And in the beginning of it, I'm just gunning it. And people like kind of like flying by, you know, I'm just like doing my thing, and you people like kind of just changing, the wind's going and shit. And then like this dude comes out of nowhere. His name's Bill Lee, this little this Asian dude, this little crazy guy. I didn't like him at the time because he used to always, every time I couldn't smoke cigarettes around him because he'd always try to bum a cigarette around me. Or he couldn't drink a beer, he would try to hit it. So when he got in front of me, I was just like, man, there's no way. So I started gunning for him, and he's just really tall, like, I don't know, like skinny Magnus Thor looking Ukraine kid next to me in this like leader frame who's just like, he's just all about the chase. He doesn't care who's winning. There's a bunch of people who are like that. They just wanted to race. They just wanted to run. And so he's like, we're going at it. And I just like, I realized, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have to go for broke on this. And I zoned out, you know, and all I could see was like the back of Bill Lee. That's all I could see. And I'm on single speed. I'm the only single speed, I guess, in the front pack. He's in the front. I'm in third, going back between third and second with this Fixie kid. But we hit these, like, then so we're shooting down, and then you get the like 32nd and a half, and it starts to go up towards right before you hit the drag, starts to go up. So that Fixie kid, he slowed down. But like I said, I knew that climb, so I just fucking barreled through it, past the Mr. Getty's, past was it Payway or some shit. And you go up, there's right past Ozone, there's 5 guys there now, and you shoot down right before you hit Toy Joe, and you turn, and then you're on the main drag. And so by that time, it was just me and him. And I realized that, like, he throws his bike at the right time, because, you know, he rides the street a lot. And so right before he hit that time, there's like right before he hit that turn at Toy Joy, it kind of goes down a little, and he he hit into his rough gear then to make that last climb. So he was gunning it, and he was like accelerating. I could see him taking off. I had my pack. There was beer in my pack. I had my lock, and my lock was just clanking and shit. And I'm just like fucking just jerking. My lock just hit me, and I had it on my chrome bag. So I just take my lock off and just toss it. And I remember looking back at it to see where it was, and there's nothing but fucking sparks just flying down the goddamn sidewalk from my lock just sliding. And then, so I'm just gunning it, and then, like, you know, my fucking hair, and I'm sweating, and I like to wipe my sweat, and I hit my helmet, and I'm like, fuck, take my helmet off, and I throw it, you know what I'm saying? And then, like, I take my hair, wrap it around I had dreads, I take my hair, wrap it around real quick, boom, back on my dough bars, and I'm just fucking shooting down the drag. And so by that time, we've passed what used to be the bookstore. I think it's called Tyler's. Tyler's is there now. There used to be a Wachovia there. It's a Wells Fargo. And you shoot down, and it's all paved road. They had put the bike lane was there already. So we're in, and it was just me and him. It's just me and him. Like it's just me and him, and he's in the lead. And that's when I dumbed out because like I was like, oh, there's a back way to the Capitol. And so you can either go straight through Guadalupe at MLK and pass a couple 2 blocks after what used to be Dog and Duck, or all the way to 11th and make that left. But if you make that left, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to climb to the top of Lavaca and 11th and shoot down just to climb up to the water fountain. And the rule was first who drinks from the water fountain gets the ride. I probably should have said that before the race started. Yeah, whoever drinks from the water fountain first gets the right to lead the ride. And so I'm dumbing out. I'm right behind him, but he's in front of me, and I'm like, okay, and I'm hoping it's like, you know, you got that really good card, and you hope someone's just gonna not focus on the aspect and just chase the carrot and not chase the route. And so he was chasing the carrot, I was chasing the route. And so when we passed Dog and Duck, there's a 7-Eleven there, and right before there, and he keeps going. And so what I do, I just slow up just a little, make that left, come right behind the street where Charlie's is, and there's like a south entrance to the underground garage, and you just shoot up that sidewalk, you hit the curve, and you're already in the back of the Capitol. You're already in the back. You just cross a couple sidewalks, which I'd done so many times. So I already had the torque, like the fucking torque. It was like watching Bow Wow on Tokyo Drift. You know what I'm saying? I was swerving. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not a fixed gear. Like I'm a single speed. So like I could pull back in the curve and push off. And I was just hitting those. I was just hitting those corners. And that's when I dropped my pack, because I didn't want to drop it where I dropped everything else, because I didn't get it. I might not have gotten it back. So I dropped my pack once I hit that back way, and then all I could think about is just like the path. I knew it, and I shot, and I came around that corner, and I didn't see anybody. Like there was no like photo finish. Like it was a very lackluster. Like I was the only person there. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, and I waited. I was like, I got this idea. I was like, you know what? I not only drank from the fountain, but I took the water and I covered myself with it as much as I could. Like my hair, like I said, I had long dreads. I took mad photos. You know what I'm saying? And I just drenched myself in the fountain. And that way, when people showed up, they'd be like, no question, like, oh, who won? You know what I'm saying? And everyone else was just sitting there looking thirsty. And that's how I became the leader of the Austin Full Moon Cruise, which I led for another 2.5 years. I'm Mutulu Kafele. Pew, 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 pew.